Hi, this is Garrett Wong, and I played Ensign Kim on Star Trek Voyager, and you're listening to Kneel Before Pod.
Kneel Before Blog presents Kneel Before Pod.
Hello and welcome to a festive edition of Kneel Before Pod, the podcast that can deliver listening pleasure in just one night. I'm your host Santa Craig, and as a festive treat to all you listeners, I'm here to lead a discussion on a film I have a lot of time for. It's the Christmas zombie musical, Anna and the Apocalypse. Joining me in singing and dancing their way through the end of the world, we have Andrew.
Hello there.
And Chris.
Hello.
Welcome to the musical End of the World.
Yes, it's so lively and joyful and yet terrific and terrifying at the same time.
I'm doing jazz hands. You just can't see.
Doing jazz hands. Well, fair enough. I'm not doing jazz hands. I'm doing what I always do, sitting down. I feel like if the world ends, I will meet it sitting down. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because if you're going to go, then you're going to go comfortable.
He died as he lived, lazily.
Well, there's worse epitaphs.
There really is. Yeah, there's better, but there's worse. And he'll be around to tell it anyway. Right. So before we get to our main topic, we'll go back to our main feature. The Kneel Before, Rise Against feature. So I'm going to nominate Andrew to go first with a Kneel Before. What are you kneeling before?
Okay, well, I am kneeling before the recently released trailer for a film called Brightburn.
Oh, damn it!
Well, actually, I've got an alternative if you want to switch.
No, go on.
Sorry. This is a horror movie, the trailer for which has cut it to mirror as closely as possible all of the iconic imagery for the origin of Superman. Although once we get past that, then it made apparent that instead of a shining beacon of all the goodness of humanity, this particular Nathan superhero is growing up to be Damien from The Omen. It actually seems like it's going to be a supervillain slasher movie because all of the shots from it are exactly the kind that you would expect from films like that. Even down to the appearance of the kid himself. The cowl that he has for himself, which a normal comic book character would just have to disguise their identity. This one actually looks like the mask of a slash movie killer, like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. And I think fusing like those two kinds of imagery together is a fantastic idea, and I'm kind of quite surprised it's something I've never actually seen before. And the film itself looks like it's going to be brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I saw the trailer yesterday, and I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's a great idea. We've had kind of riffs on the Superman origin thing before. Unbreakable is in itself a riff on Superman in some ways, as in, the marketing for that film should have been, what if Superman didn't know he was Superman? And I guess Hancock is a bit like that as well. What if Superman didn't care about helping people? So now you've got, what if Superman was demonic? And it's an interesting premise. I really like how the trailer starts off as if it could be a Superman movie. You've got we want a child. It's really horrible that we can't have a child. The crash landing, and then suddenly it just becomes much more sinister. I really like the red eyes as he's like floating outside the window and stuff like that. It does look cool. It looks really interesting. Chris, have you seen this?
I have seen the trailer. Do you know what? It looks like an interesting take on it. Horror movies are never really my thing. but giving it the superhero origin bit might tempt me into it a little bit. So, yeah.
I tend to be one for the prestige horror movies. You know, the ones that everyone's talking about.
Elevated horror movies. Or so goes like the utterly pretentious tag that they're being given. I'm not going to get started on this because I will not stop, so please carry on.
You know, the things like Hereditary, which I hated, or The Quiet Place, which I loved. Stuff like that, you know, I'll maybe make time to see a couple of them a year, if everybody's kind of chatting about them. But on the whole, I'll tend to dodge them because, well, Andrew, you'll know better than anyone how repetitive they can get.
All too well, sadly.
Yeah. I used to have a friend who would go and see all the crappy horror movies, and it's just, as far as I could tell, he was just watching the same thing over and over again.
Well, that has always been one of the issues of horror in general. Is that it's very, very easy to do it very, very badly.
Yeah.
Though I think the one of the reasons why the genre in general has a particularly negative reputation is because of all of the interminable franchises, like Friday the 13th or Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street and the like. It's because like they are what people's perception of the entire genre is actually like.
Yeah.
Because actually, fairly recently, I actually had to explain to a woman I worked with, like the difference between a general horror movie and a slasher movie, because she genuinely didn't know what the difference was.
I suppose that's quite common. But yeah, Brightburn, here for it. When's it out? March or something?
Something like that. I forgot to notice.
Yeah.
Also, got to mention the rather big, from the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, producer James Gunn.
No, it's even more than that.
All over it.
Yes, it's actually like from the visionary director of Guardians of the Galaxy, which was just a gigantic middle finger to Disney.
I'm always sceptical when they use the word visionary because people use that to reference J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
It's a word that's overused these days. It's lost all meaning.
What's that visionary podcaster, Craig McKenzie?
Yes, I am a visionary. I can see I have vision. So, Brightburn, excellent choice. I think we're all intrigued. So, that shall be one that I sit and watch in a few months, weeks, years, whenever it comes out. Chris, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm going to go with another little teaser trailery thing that made me chuckle earlier in the week. So there was a new trailer for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They're going to be going into their new season premiere in January, so we got our first little teaser trailer, and it was just a bit of a die-hard rip-off kind of thing that they did, which was a lot of fun. It was a little short thing, and I was like, do you know what? Kind of made me laugh. So,
Is this the post-revival saved from
yeah,
season?
this is the you asked for it, so here it comes season that they're now going to get with no holds barred. So yeah, it's just a fun thing. It's not any sort of clips of the show. It's like a little standalone skit thing that they've done. So I was like, kind of like that.
I'm waiting for the most recent season to come on Netflix, which it hasn't done yet.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's a rights kind of thing with it all shuffling over or what.
I heard it was supposed to be this December, but don't know.
Early Christmas present, nice.
I'll watch it eventually once I catch up with the previous season. I'm aware I could watch it through other means, but I can't be bothered. And I don't know what those other means are, and you can't make me say.
I won't try.
Yeah.
No, I just find Brooklyn Nine-Nine a bit of a palate cleanser for me. It's like other people sort of look down on it, but with me, palate cleanser. Just like it. A good chuckle and a laugh, so.
Yeah. Are you excited about Brooklyn Nine-Nine returning, Andrew?
I am. Yes, I absolutely love the show. It's just so much fun. I do really like ensemble comedies in general. And especially in the case of this one, when they take full advantage of the different combinations of character interactions that they can have. And this particular teaser thing, I also really enjoyed it because much like the show itself, it was just a great bit of fun. Especially since it's playing on the fact that a running thing throughout the show is just how much Jake absolutely adores Die Hard, and so having a trailer basically being him describing and playing out his ultimate police officer fantasy. I just thought it was a perfect bit of characterization.
Cool. Yeah, I'll see it eventually. Don't know when, but eventually. So now it's my turn, and since you stole mine, I have a couple options. Although what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mess with everybody, and I'm going to kneel before the Taron Egerton Robin Hood film, because someone has to give it some love. It's getting critically and universally panned across the board. I didn't think it was that bad. I enjoyed it. It's not a good film, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's it's fine. It's kind of hilarious in how stupid it is, and I could get something out of it for that reason.
I have not seen it yet. I've got to say the fact that it has been getting universally panned, apart from one voice screaming amongst the crowd saying, "Go along and see it, it's fun." So I've not had the chance to see it yet, but it kind of looked like it would be a bit of fun to me, though I know I'm probably going to miss it at cinemas now by the time I actually get round to seeing it.
Oh, it's gone.
Oh, it's gone already. All right, there we go. It's gone. Yeah. No chance, McPhail. You're too late.
It's like Arrow, but not so good in whatever time period it's set in.
I actually have seen it. Though I didn't enjoy it as much as you did.
Anybody did.
True. Yeah. Well, I think with very well known stories, and with Robin Hood in particular, and it can be very difficult to actually do anything different with them. It's like just because there have been so many different variations on it previously.
Yeah, and the filmmakers here just didn't even try. You have to admire that.
Do I though?
Well, to some degree. They're just like, you know what, we can't do anything new, so let's just churn something out, it's fine.
Yeah,
a superhero, it's alright.
Yeah, well, the thing is, but if that's the attitude like to take towards it, then you have to ask, like, why bother doing it in the first place?
Because money. I don't know, I can't defend it, I really can't defend it, even though I am defending it. I just thought it was alright. Sometimes I'm a bit of a sucker for films that are just so hilariously bad. The Meg, for example, I quite enjoyed it. Skyscraper, decent. Sometimes I just like to sit and let something wash over me. And that's what happened here. It didn't outstay its welcome for me. It's about 2 hours long. I was never bored. There's a hilarious moment where, spoilers, Jamie Foxx decides to make himself a metal arm, and he sticks his hand in the metal stump while it's still boiling hot, and then he screams, because my only thought is, what do you think was going to happen? It's to show that he's tough, but it's just stupid. And there's so many other stupid things that happen in the film. It's just, yeah, I'm going to kneel before it, because why not?
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, someone had to. It holds up with my theory. The the worst film ever made is someone's favourite film. I mean, I'm not saying this is my favourite film, but, you know, I didn't hate it. Which is, I guess, the best that the filmmakers can hope for in this instance.
Yeah, well, I've certainly yet to meet the person who would cite Birdemic as their favourite film.
They'll be out there. Guaranteed. If you're out there, make yourself known. We won't judge.
Oh, I will. I will judge you hard.
I won't. I've publicly admitted I enjoyed the Robin Hood film, so, you know. It's out there now. Unless I edit it out, which I might. So that's it. Nail before. Locked in. It's time to rise against stuff. So, Andrew, you went first before. You go first again. What of mine are you going to steal this?
Well, I know I won't be stealing from you because I know you've not watched it yet. I am rising against Titans. So, if any of the listeners recall the podcast that we did about all the trailers coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, you may recall that I was the lone dissenting voice in saying that Titans didn't actually look all that bad and actually might have been a decent watch and might have been kind of fun. Dear God, I was so wrong.
And in a later podcast, he offered to review it.
I did, and I would say I've come to regret this, but in future I may not be may not be so quick to offer my services before properly experiencing something. But the first episode of it was actually all right, and it set everything up quite well, and with like introducing the characters and establishing the tone and the world and whatnot, and then afterwards it just all went to hell. The episodes are pretty much alternating between ones which are carrying forward the actual narrative of the series, and ones which are side stories, having very little to do with the overall plot, whose purpose is just to introduce other characters who may or may not have their own series in the future. That in of itself is annoying enough, but the main problem with the series is it's just so interminably boring. I mean, every episode has about 10 minutes of actual plot, and the rest is just filler material and stretching this out to an acceptable runtime. And it's getting to the point where I'm just wanting it to end, so I just don't have to watch the freaking thing anymore.
Fair enough. Not watched it yet, as you know, because you said that. Although you can catch Andrew's coverage on dealbeforeblog.co.uk, his frustrated coverage.
Hey!
Chris, have you seen Titans yet?
I've not seen it yet either. It is on the list, but every time I speak to Andrew, it moves steadily down that list to the point where I think eventually it'll just topple off the end, and one of these days I'll end up accidentally watching an episode.
And it'll be episode like 3 or something.
Yeah, it'll be halfway through, or it'll be a season finale, and I'll be like, oh, right, okay.
Oh, so that's a thing that I don't need to watch anymore. Fair enough. So yeah, that's it on Titans. Chris, what's your rise against?
I am rising against the fact that Doctor Who won't be back until 2020, which was announced this week.
There's one episode in 2019.
One episode, yeah, on day one. And that's it. It's not going to be back until 2020, which I think is a bit of a shame. I've been quite enjoying the few episodes that I've watched, so yeah.
I was kind of disappointed in last night's finale, but that's a review that you can read. See all the self-advertising I'm doing. I'm getting good at this.
Doing well. Plug Mungus.
That's it. So that doesn't mean... I've not been disappointed in the series on the whole, though. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I think that the BBC are a bit cavalier in how they market this sometimes. You know, it's like yeah, we're just going to take a year off. It's like, well, that's enough time for the kids that you've got on board this year to forget about it. So great, well done. You know, if you want to kill it, then you're going the right way about it.
Yeah, it is a bit of a long gap, especially when it's not really like a production gap of sorts. But my guessing is to give the actors space to do other projects.
Yeah.
It might be so that they can attract people that they want onto it, so they can go, right, okay, well, you'll still have time to do your own thing because you're going to get another, half a year worth to do a film or do 2 films or do another TV show or, whatever you want.
Or present a quiz show in case of
Yeah. You can present the chase, you're fine.
I think that they should follow the American CW model of 23 episodes, the first 8 of which set up a villain that you won't see again for another 10 episodes, and then rush to the end. Because we all know that works really well.
Yeah.
Just
It's
look
a
at
tried and
season
tested
3 and
method.
4.
Yeah, well, it must work well because they keep on doing it.
It's because we keep watching it.
Damn us. Yeah. I've actually been quite enjoying this series of Doctor Who. I've not watched the finale episode yet. Though I must have not paid enough attention at some point because I didn't realise it was actually going to be the finale, because it really didn't seem like there'd been enough episodes for it to have been a whole proper series yet.
Well, it's a 10-episode season, and every episode has nothing to do with the previous one, so it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, and the finale doesn't feel like it's come from anywhere either. I mean, I don't think that's a spoiler to say that. But, so it just kind of feels like another episode, albeit with slightly larger stakes than the previous one, but it's a weird structure. I think we've just gotten so used to the, oh my god, the Daleks are wiping out the universe again. Those damn Daleks. It's taken 12 episodes of casually hinting at them. They only tried that once. I'm kind of exaggerating somewhat, but every finale, certainly under the Russell T Davies era, was very much this: everything's going to hell in a handbasket, and we can't. And there's no way the Doctor will win. And then Stephen Moffat specialised in the what the hell is going on sort of finales, or sort of episodes, I guess, during his run. So it's unusual to have this structure after having a kind of a defined, almost I'm going to say almost American style structure in some ways. Where the finale is something that you're building towards. But they weren't this year, and I guess you can take it or leave it.
Yeah. Though I suppose maybe that was intentional. Seeing as that was largely how Doctor Who was in its original incarnation. Yeah, because it was something that you'd be able to dip in and out of. And if you hadn't seen everything previously, then it really wouldn't matter because you'd always be able to follow what was going on.
To an extent, yeah. I think TV has moved on, though.
True.
That should be recognised. But this is more a conversation for the Doctor Who podcast that we'll do sometime after the New Year special. So we'll table it until then, before we turn this into the Doctor Who podcast.
As it's a time travel podcast, are you talking about the podcast that we recorded in the past but will be putting out on the stream in the future, or the one that we're recording in the future that we're then going to put on the podcast in the past?
You decide.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah,
it's relative.
It's open to interpretation. What is time, really?
Oh, running jokes. Never get old.
Well, I know what it is. I think it's time we got to our main topic.
Oh,
because I haven't wrote anything yet.
Oh, right, yeah, right.
I know, but I couldn't resist that connection.
Well, do you know, if you edit my one to be after yours, then you can have that connection if you want.
I want to retain the clumsiness. I'm going to rise against something that's super recent. Today, as in when we recorded it, that bloody Sonic poster.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I don't know, whoever released a motion poster for the upcoming in brackets, live action Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which is a silhouette of him looking kind of muscular. It looks trash, and you know, I'm not sure this film is going to be worth a damn. If judging by the previous output from Sonic stuff, it will be glitchy and it won't work half the time. So you'll be sitting in the cinema and it'll just switch itself off for 20 minutes. I don't have much more to say about it. It's just a poster, but it looks terrible.
From the producer of The Fast and the Furious.
I know!
All of the... Yeah.
My God.
Well, perhaps they were trying to go for some thematic connection of speed.
Yeah.
And then failed miserably.
Yeah. But don't worry, you can see Jim Carrey and James Marsden, not Matthew Marsden. That's a different guy. It's James Marsden, and I don't know. It's going to be like the Smurfs with Sonic, and I don't think anybody needs to see that.
Yeah, well, I actually heard it described as like Alvin and Chipmunks with Sonic, which actually sounds even worse. Yeah,
it's just getting worse.
I was being generous. No. Oh my God. Yeah, maybe it'll round out as a solid Garfield.
It kind of reeks of one of those, we've got this property and we're doing absolutely nothing with it.
Yeah.
In the film/TV market, let's go and do a thing, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be commented on when the first trailer releases. The thing is, I love Sonic, I always have. You know, it was my favourite game growing up, and I have an affection for the poor blue hedgehog who can't seem to be in a decent game these days, unless it's Sonic Mania, which is incredible. So, why don't, instead of releasing a Sonic movie, why not just release a Let's Play of Sonic Mania into cinemas? It'd be more enjoyable. I guarantee it. Not me playing it, I'm not very good at it, but someone who's good at it.
Actually, like the most recent Sonic game that I ever played was Sonic and Knuckles, which was like sometime in the late 90s. So Let's Play Sonic Mania would be a completely new experience for me. So I would totally see that.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it now. It's on YouTube, but like on the big screen, why not?
In 3D.
Maybe not. No, it's a 2D sprite game. You know, it doesn't need to be in 3D.
All right.
Yeah. So that's that. So now it's actually time to get on our main topic, which doesn't work as a link anymore. Okay, so recently we saw a unique film. I mean, I say recently. I recently rewatched. I saw it months ago at the film festival and loved it. It is a Christmas zombie musical. You heard that right. And it's called Anna and the Apocalypse. And it's about a girl called Anna who lives through the apocalypse. And she sings. Is that a fair description?
Do we want to do a spoiler klaxon before we say she lives through the apocalypse?
That wouldn't be much of a film if she died in the first 5 minutes, would it? I mean,
no, it wouldn't at all. You're right.
Yeah. Is that a fair description, would you say?
I think it would be. My only addition would be Scottish zombie apocalypse Christmas musical.
Yeah, it's kind of filmed with Scottish director and so on, but it's not really set in Scotland.
No, it doesn't specifically say it apart from accent-wise, but yeah.
Yeah, I would also add comedy to the list of adjectives for the film.
Yes, it is very funny. So, in our usual tradition, we shall start with no spoilers, because this film that you probably can't watch by the time I publish this deserves not to be spoiled. Andrew, you can start. What do you think of it?
Yeah, well, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really, really good fun. as you mentioned, it was screened at the Edinburgh Film Festival
and every other film festival you can think of.
Yeah. There were quite a lot of good films at this year's festival, but this was certainly one of my favourites. Just because I loved the mixing together of the various different genres. I thought the end result of doing so was absolutely brilliant, and I would certainly recommend the film to anyone who can still find the bloody thing anywhere.
Yep, DVD release next year is probably your best bet, because they'll try and churn it out sometime around November, I think, of next year. That'd be my guess.
I think it's one of those ones that will end up becoming in local cinemas one of those Christmas staples.
Oh yeah,
you know, where you get the Die Hard, you get the Die Hard screening, you get the Muppets Christmas Carol screening, and I think Anna and the Apocalypse is going to end up on that list somewhere.
Yeah, and it should.
And rightly so, yeah.
Yeah. So you're a fan then?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I just found it a lot of fun. I've said on podcasts before, in fact, I think I've said on this podcast, horror and zombie horror and stuff like that isn't particularly my thing. But the likes of Shaun of the Dead and stuff, I'm all for, and this just reeks of that kind of stuff, plus added musical. So, yeah, I'm right up for it.
Yep, I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. In case that wasn't clear, I have loads of pictures with the cast from when I was drunk at the film festival. I did karaoke near them. They recognised me the next day for doing karaoke. I did tell them I was available for their next film. Was met with resounding sort of reactions, which, fair enough. They can sing, I can't. But, loved it. Thought it was a great film. I'm sad to see how badly it's been butchered in the marketing. It's been well marketed on social media, but I think cinemas have done it a real disservice. It should have been their, every cinema chain, every cinema chain that's anywhere should have been promoting the hell out of this thing. Instead of relegating it to one screening a day late on at night.
No, I agree. It's not been particularly well, and I thought it would have got more of a play from audiences or cinemas here as well. As much as you're sort of saying, it's filmed as a generic thing, it's very much, I always feel it's kind of quite a Scottish film as well. So it would have been nice for it to get a bit of an extra plug here. I know that doesn't make a difference to anyone listening to this in America or Canada or somewhere, but yeah, I think it was a bit disappointing the amount of screenings it got, though by the sounds of it, it's actually done very well in the screenings that it did have, so that's something good to take from it. I think it's one of those ones that once it's out on DVD and gets sort of played on telly and stuff, it'll get discovered properly.
Yeah, there's been a big a bump of it in America as well. There's been lots of screenings in the US according to social media, so it's getting out there. It's just the fact that cinemas aren't championing it. Instead, they're showing multiple screenings of that stupid Fantastic Beasts film, which is not worthy of screening at all because it's so bad. I should have rose against it, but if it'd been a week ago, it probably would have been risen against. But I'm saying it now, it sucks. So yeah,
I concur.
Yeah, just kick that out of the screening, one of their screens, and then put Anna in a bit more. Why not? Give the little guy a chance. But yeah, it's what it is. But this podcast and its listeners, plural, will know. So on that note, shall we dance our way into the spoiler section?
Let's go for it.
Okay, well, just give me a second. I need to stretch first.
So this next part would normally be our Q&A section, but I don't have any questions from anyone, probably because no one's seen the film. So we'll skip that because we can't do it if we don't have any questions. Unless either of you have found a question in the last 5 or so minutes.
Well, I didn't think to throw it out in desperation. I apologise. I failed.
You have failed. It will be reflected in your end of year performance review.
I hang my head in shame.
Chris, you got any questions? In the last
No.
No. Cool. Okay. Let's move on then. So, you've already hinted, Andrew, that it combines different genres, and that can be a bit of a risk for films in general, because, well, genres can be quite distinct from one another, and usually adding musical to anything is fairly difficult. But I think that this film blends the elements so seamlessly that it all feels like a cohesive whole. So, it takes the zombie horror part seriously, it takes the comedy part seriously, it takes the musical part seriously, it takes the character drama part seriously. And because it does all those things, it puts the effort into all of those things, it largely works.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, even though I'm effectively repeating you agreeing with me earlier. I think as an extension of what I mentioned earlier about it being quite easy to do horror badly. It's also a similar deal with comedy horror. Because so often it's the people making the film struggle to get the balance between them right. So I can have for one moment I have this like completely harmless like look about humour, and next you have people dying horrifically, and the contrast between them, really doesn't work. Though with the way that Anna does it is that at any given moment, like each one of its different genre aspects, like is at like a particular kind of level, if you like. It's so if you like imagine like the scale of each, like as a bunch of dials that are being constantly adjusted depending on the needs of each scene, and and the way that each of them is balanced, I think is pretty much flawless.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you, but I would just be repeating myself.
Yes, we just end up in a never-ending loop.
We're just stuck in this time loop of just, yes, I agree, and then we never get past it.
Yes, and I agree with you agreeing with me agreeing with you.
And I agree with you both agreeing with each other.
So, yeah, Chris, are you echoing that statement?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't want to go over again. I agree.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, obviously there's been a little bit of money spent on it. The zombie makeup is very good. They look like zombies and kind of well put together zombies. But there's also the kind of, when you watch enough films, you start to see where they're kind of hiding their budgetary restrictions. So you have a lot of these fairly simple locations. There aren't actually a lot of zombies for the most part. Normally they're fighting a handful of them, or the engagement, they'll split them up into sort of sections, like the Christmas tree storage area. It's more about the zombies you don't see than the zombies you do see, which makes it more effective. And it's almost Evil Dead in that respect, isn't it? Let's hide our limitations by turning them into strengths a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it does it as well as Evil Dead, but that influence is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it was sort of shot on location. It was I was reading a thing earlier this week because I was trying to work out where through the West it was shot, and it was a school through at Port Glasgow that was about to be demolished that they used.
All
So
right.
it was all sort of proper sets and buildings and stuff. So they managed to sort of use that as a bit of a budget saver, I think. They've managed to do some good stuff with it. It's one of those sort of silly ones that it's like you do when you see something that's set in Scotland. You end up sort of hunting about, going, I'm sure I've seen that building, and that building somewhere. Where was it? And you start Googling, so that's what I did. Sorry, I'm sad. But yeah, it was... There are some budget savings there, but I think with the style of film it is, with the comedy angle, with the sort of musical angle, I think if you went too high budget, I know this is going to sound weird, but I think if you went too high budget with it, it wouldn't be as much fun. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I think if this was like some ridiculous La La Land style production, it wouldn't have the same charm that this does.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I think part of it is that it's really clever in the way that it presents itself. You know, you've got a handful of set pieces, you've got a handful of locations, a small group of characters, and you know, you can chuck them all in the mixing bowl, and what do you get? And you get this film.
I completely agree with what you're saying about how it's been styled. As I actually got a chance to interview the director of the film, a guy called John McPhail.
Show notes.
And yes. And one of the things that he that he mentioned was being a big fan of practical effects over CGI. And though there is a bit of CGI in the film, but that's quite readily identifiable. It's mostly
The matte paintings, basically, isn't it?
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And the occasional fountain of blood that kind of like spurting out of a decapitated zombie. But for the most part, the CGI is just used to augment what's already there.
Yeah.
I do agree with him in terms of using practical effects, because I do feel that it can make a film feel just kind of more real and more tangible. Yeah, just like it's like when you know that what's on screen is actually there physically.
Yeah.
And particularly for lower budget films, like they don't have the kind of Hollywood financing flying at them. When you're able to make that kind of connection with them, then it does allow you to overlook any minor flaws that you might pick up on.
Yeah, and I mean, it affectionately wears its influences on its sleeve, doesn't it? I mean, I've mentioned that Evil Dead, whether it was intentional or not, but the obviously intentional one is Shaun of the Dead. You know, you've got that. Well, I'm going to say it's a similar sequence. I mean, it's not similar at all when you look at them both side by side, but it's the idea of when Anna's walking at school, the world is ending behind her, there's all this chaos, and she just doesn't notice, in the same way that Sean doesn't notice when he pops out to the shops. And I guess it's that, I suppose it's an exaggeration of the Shaun of the Dead sequence, because in that one it's, you know, the town is just so full of people that are effectively dead to the world most of the time anyway, that if they were all zombies you wouldn't actually notice. Whereas this is to the extreme. You know, there's chaos going on. It's more like the remake of Dawn of the Dead in terms of what's actually happening. But she still doesn't notice, which I guess is a comment on... maybe a comment on how young people are just so blasé about the world around them. Which doesn't seem fair according to Anna, because she's actually quite a smart person.
So headphones on and completely oblivious to the world around. Yeah, I think it's just a fun sequence, that, isn't it? It's the pair of them sort of heading their way into meet and ignoring everything that's going on around. Very smart.
Well, the way that I took that was it was less to do with like any kind of social commentary, and just more just more being like juxtaposition of all this death and carnage that's rolling around them, while at the same time they're feeling really happy and optimistic about the future. And remaining completely oblivious about the living hell that they're about to endure.
Yeah, there is that. Although there's kind of a few references to society not deserving to survive throughout the film. You know, you've got the hashtag #evac not Twitter thing that they've got. You know, the legally distinct from Twitter thing that they've got. And it's like, we deserve to die, or whatever it is that I forget the character's name off the top of my head. Whatever it is that she says.
Steph,
that's it. Yeah. So I think there will be an intention of, you know, yeah, maybe there is a disconnect that suggests that people might not deserve to thrive, which is, you know, a very nihilistic sort of outlook. But I cannot. But then I walk outside and I understand it immediately. That took a morbid turn.
The end of that sequence, though, the zombie snowman.
Zombie snowman was great.
One of
my
favourite things.
I'm
the
a first
decapitation.
whack, 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 whack.
Yeah. Smacked in the handbag and then finally taken out by the seesaw was. Yeah. And there's one of your practical blood fountains.
Exactly, yes.
Andrew.
Actually, that was pretty much exactly what I was picturing while I was saying that.
Of course. Well, yeah, it's quite a prominent and quite a memorable image. It's just this blood spurting out of this decapitated zombie as John looks on and screams. And then it counters your theory, Chris, about the show me this severed head, because it continues going on.
Yeah. Zombies kind of don't count. I mean, it's my general rule of thumb is once there's a decapitated head, I know they're properly dead. Whereas other shows, it's like until I see the decapitated corpse, I do not believe they're actually gone. With this, zombie films and TV shows normally break the rule all the time with that. But yeah, you get the gnashing of teeth from inside the head. It's just with the Christmas setting. I think it's just one of these things that makes it even more fun. The snowman is probably my favourite. However, the two zombie penguins later, equally cheer me up.
Zombie penguins, that Christmassy image penguins. Yeah, and it's those kind of little encounters that you're talking about that are kind of the most memorable, because they're a bunch of kids, so these kind of all-out zombie brawls, they're very much they're a losing battle, aren't they? Because they're just completely outmatched. But when they're sort of one-on-one, you can get quite creative in the way that you defeat them, such as decapitating with a seesaw. You get
stabbed out by a candy cane, as obviously.
Candy cane,
or crushing your skull between bowling balls.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. The bowling alley sequence was pretty cool, actually. I can't think I've ever seen anything like it.
That was definitely one of my favourite scenes of the whole film.
Yeah, it was just madness, absolute madness. But really cool, and it's at that point where you're sort of starved for a bit of action as well, because you've had a lot of the sitting around introspective character stuff, and it's like, right, it's about time. Let's speed things up a little bit. And of course, it's a zombie stag do, so that's always fun. Which, again, would you notice? I'm being very, very cruel to the human race this evening.
Yeah, we've seen the news today at the time of recording, and we're not feeling very we're not feeling very great towards society at the moment. We apologise, everyone.
The zombie apocalypse sounds pretty good right now. I would say that until the internet went down. It's like, you can't watch Elseworlds. Yeah. The internet would be one of the first things to go as well.
It would be, yeah.
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 Although not in this film. It stays on for a while. So that they can watch cameos by Jackie Bird.
Yeah, and there's about a dozen listeners who will know who that is.
I was about to say, yeah. It's like for a Scottish crowd, they're going, yay! For everyone else, they're going, who's this? Who have they got in pretending to be a newsreader?
Hold on, there's a dozen listeners?
Well, I'm being optimistic.
It's about time someone was. It's kind of the characters. So you've got Anna, of course, as the protagonist. The film is named after her, after all. Played by Ella Hunt. And I think she's a great character because she is very much this... I mean, every character's somewhat lost in their own way, but her in particular, you know, she has these kind of... She has these feelings that she has something better to do with her time. You know, she has to get out of the town because it's suffocating her. Her mum died, so she wants to experience as much about life as she can. She's booked a ticket to somewhere to go travelling because she wants to experience the world and before university and all this stuff. And like, you know, I get the impression that she's kind of figuring out her place in the world and what it means to her. And I think that works really well because, you know, of all the things holding her back, a zombie apocalypse is pretty high on that list.
I totally agree with that. Just like
So does Ella Hunt, by the way, according to a tweet I got back during the film festival. Just saying.
God, you're full of self-promotion tonight, aren't you?
Well, it's I was quite chuffed with that tweet.
Yeah. No, that is actually a pretty good thing. So nice one, yes.
Yeah.
And certainly like the idea of feeling stifled by but from growing up in a small town is something that quite a lot of people will be able to relate to. I mean, because I actually grew up in the borders. So spending a majority of your life not wanting to live where you live is something that I know all too well. And especially in Anna's case, like there's what she wants from life, but she should also be made like to take into consideration what her dad wants for her, and what he thinks is going to be the best for her, which is which isn't something that she feels the same about, and which again I think is something that many young people would feel the same about.
Yeah, and I mean, not just young people, because obviously it's the very specific example of I'm in a dead-end town where there's no prospects. If I want to make something of myself, I have to get out of here. But you can transpose that to anyone who feels like they're stuck in a rut in anything. You know, you might be in a relationship that's not fulfilling you. You might be in a job that you hate, that you can't get out of because financial commitments and all that kind of stuff. Not necessarily saying that's mean, but you know, but you know, a lot of people kind of feel like that. You know, how many times have you kind of woke up in the morning and been like, "Oh God, not another day"? And that's Anna. You know, that's what her life is at this point, and that's why she's taking steps to get out of it, because she has to for her own sense of sanity, and She doesn't want to end up like her mum, I guess. Or her dad. She doesn't want to become her dad, who just gives up and lives, resigns himself to where he is. Doesn't want to end up like her mum, as in dead and not accomplished anything. But yeah.
Yeah, I think, you see the dad getting basically trodden on by the headmaster and sort of fought really lowly of through the thing, so you can see why she'd be wanting to try and find a way to break out from that.
Yeah. And the fact that her dad's a janitor as well, I think that's no accident, because, it's a noble profession. I wouldn't want to do it. I think I'd be terrible at it, but, it's something that needs done. But if you look at society, it's one of those things that's generally seen as, you haven't achieved anything, so you can be a janitor, and I think that's a really bleak outlook, because a lot of people will enjoy their life when they do that sort of work, but it's the idea that the headmaster's an educator, so automatically feels like he's better, and, well, he's not a better person. He might be better paid, but he's not a better person, whereas her dad is a better person. He's a kind and generous sort of guy. Everyone agrees with me. Good.
I agree.
Yes.
I'm not going to fall out with janitors, I agree with you.
Yeah, let's not fall out with janitors. Yeah. People might be listening to this podcast while doing janitorial work.
Yeah.
But I hope you see what I'm getting at, as in it's one of those occupations that might be seen as being lower order when it's not. There's no such thing as a there's no such thing really. It's just small people that think that think that certain things are beneath them. But people are willing to muck in and literally and do what needs to be done in order to support themselves, support their family, have a life of some sort. So the fact that he is very much that working class type, and I think Anna sort of looks down on it to an extent, at least until she comes to some form of understanding of what he's like and everything he's done for her.
Yeah, well, I don't think she necessarily looks down on it. I think it's more that she sees in her dad's like a direction that she doesn't want her life to go in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's and the plans that she's making are geared towards avoiding that.
Yeah, definitely. She doesn't want to end up like that, and that's completely valid. But I think she does have to come to some form of appreciation of what her dad has achieved as well. He may not have achieved money, or he may not have achieved wealth or anything, or success or anything like that, but what he has achieved is being a decent person, which is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So other characters. You've got John, who's pining after Anna, who's his best friend. His main arc is trying to learn all of Santa's reindeer names. That's what he's after. That's what his goal in life is. And he likes cutting about in a horrendous Christmas jumper, 2 or 3 days on the trot.
It's got lights in it. It's a pretty cool Christmas jumper. That is the Rolls Royce of Christmas jumpers. That is
truly horrendous. Truly horrendous.
Yeah. Well, I took the idea of that just to emphasise how sweet natured he is.
Yeah, he's quite a nerd as well. Where he walks into the bowling alley and he speaks to Chris, and it's like zombies. And he's like, "No, it's so exciting." It's like people are dead. Like the world is collapsing in on itself, and you're like,
"Yeah, but zombies."
For a second. Yeah, no such thing. Apparently, there is such a thing. Yeah. Struggling to think of anything else there is to John. I think he complements Anna really well because he acts as a sounding board for her to speak about. And I think that the idea that they don't get together in the midst of the apocalypse is very real as well. And I think we'll get onto that a bit when we talk about the songs. But it is very real. It's the fact is that Anna sees him as a friend and nothing else, and you get that point where she makes it very clear to him that he's her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's not meant maliciously, it's just meant as that's what you are, like that's important.
Yeah, I mean, because like there's even a line in one of the early songs actually like explicitly stating like sometimes nice guys don't get the girl.
Yeah. And in real life, most of the time, I suppose, it just depends on the girl, depends on the guy. I don't know. It is. It bubbles along in the background, and I'm glad the film doesn't make too big a deal out of it. I mean, it gets to the point where she makes it clear to him that she knows he has feelings for her, and she kind of puts the boot in that. Sorry, ain't gonna happen. But you're my best friend, and then he dies. So
you get that nice heart-to-heart chat before that though, where it's where they're pushing each other along in the shopping trolley, and you kind of get that nice
that's
chat.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a cracking scene, that one, and I did like that because I think that's where you get the best sort of revelation between the pair of them, because then they swap places. You can only talk when you're pushing the trolley.
Yeah, and he's like, well, you don't fancy me, so get out of the bloody trolley. I'm going to sit in here. Yeah, it's like the talking stick, but it's a trolley. And there's the snow angels scene earlier in the film, which is
yeah,
but all right, it's not bad. Where he talks about Oliver the other reindeer, yeah, instead of all of the other. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. Oliver's a dick, as he says, because he laughs and calls Rudolph names. Anything else on John?
I think we pretty much covered all there is to him.
Yeah, he dies. Has to wear that Christmas jumper until his body decomposes. That's a shame. I mean, imagine it's like June and he's still cutting about as a zombie wearing a Christmas jumper. Isn't he going to look stupid? I suppose no stupider than that Santa.
Yeah, him and the snowman can be a sort of double act walking about together.
They could.
It would be him, the snowman, and two penguins.
The two penguins, yeah. So Steph, the character I couldn't remember, she's kind of been abandoned at Christmas, which is kind of harsh. Her parents don't want her to go see them for some reason, and her girlfriend is away. So she's a lesbian. The film makes nothing out of it really, other than just mentioning that that's what she is, that she has a girlfriend. So that's progressive. You have gay characters in this film without any fanfare, which is funny for a musical.
Yeah, she's just sort of a young activist kind of thing, isn't she, Steph? They don't really make much about her. Not my favourite character for the film, I've got to say.
She's a bit of a killjoy.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. But they use that sort of throughout the film, and it can be quite interesting. But it's a sort of strangely unexplained character in there.
Certain death is so much fun. They just want to kill zombies. Stop bringing them in there.
I think that was part of her purpose. It was just like to provide like a contrast against like the sort of like potentially fatal enthusiasm like the other characters were taking it all as. Because in zombie movies like there pretty much always is one character who assigns himself like the role of the voice of reason. And the one that other people should listen to. Yes, and I think in the case of Steph, like she may have well actually been right, since she's one of the few people who makes it out alive.
Though it's arguably her fault that Chris and Lisa died,
That is true.
because she picks up an item, a confiscated item, shall we say, and makes too much noise and alerts the zombies because of her reaction to said item. I mean, I would be disgusted too, but still.
Yeah, and I do know that the girl who played Steph, Sarah Swire, she was also the film's choreographer, and I think it's possible that there may have also been like a character created for her to play as well. Because she just like to give her some more to do and give her more presence in the production.
Yeah.
I'm just randomly speculating. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Either way, what happened there?
Yeah, could be. I mean, she stands out because she's very different to everyone else. I think she's maybe a bit too obviously different. You know, she has the platinum blonde hair and her activism streak. I'm going to spend my Christmas Eve in the soup kitchen because that's who I am. You know, that kind of thing.
And she's also Canadian.
Yes, sometimes. Yeah, she's alright. Chris, not you, Chris, the other Chris.
Hello?
Chris again. Here we are.
Hello.
He's the frustrating optimist, isn't he? Like, who sort of deserved to be killed earlier than he did because he goes after his phone. There's also the bit where Anna and John walk into the bowling alley, and he's like, "It's them! They're fine!" And it just runs at them, and without having any idea of what's going on.
Actually, it's like another zombie movie staple is like a character who is completely and utterly gormless. And usually ends up getting themselves and or other people killed. Though it is more typical for that character to be a woman. So I found it quite an interesting contrast, like to have a guy being a bit of an airhead for a change.
Yeah, although him and Lisa are not a couple you want to be around, are they? I mean, Jesus. We've all been around couples like that, and it's like, get us. You two
Just want to spray water on them.
Yes, please get that out of my face. It's lunchtime. I'm trying to eat. Yeah, they're quite insufferable in that regard. Although I think they only have one or two scenes together. Because they have the lunch scene and then they have the scene just before they die, and that's it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So they're not that insufferable. They get separated, thankfully. I don't know. Chris is the nerd, the same as John is. They sit around discussing what's happening to their celebrities, which I thought was quite funny. Robert Downey Jr. is surrounded by models and electric fences. Whether Ryan Gosling's a zombie or not, he's still cool apparently. And Taylor Swift does not become a zombie according to their gospel. So yeah. I'm sure there was another celebrity mentioned.
Justin Bieber.
That was it. He's a zombie. Would you notice? That's the theme of this podcast. Would you notice?
Well, it might make him less irritating.
A little bit. Unless he could still sing.
No. Let's not go there.
I don't think there's that much to say about Lisa as well. I guess she's quite kind-hearted by nature. She spent most of the film sitting with Chrissy's gran. waiting for her to die, basically, which is morbid. She does have quite a... We'll get onto it when we talk about the songs, but she has quite a...
Oh god, she does, yes.
So that's it for Chris and Lisa. Anything else?
No, well, because that's one of the things. We have characters who are defined by being a couple. Yes. So anything that they can say about them is pretty much the same, because it refers to them as being a couple.
Yeah. So you have your kind of jock, douchey character in Nick. Although there's a little bit of depth to him. You know, he's quite sensitive under his rough exterior. Something about his dad. He has to kill his dad, but then there's some kind of... There's something underlying in that relationship. Maybe it's that his dad expects him to join the military. Maybe that his dad doesn't want him to join the military. You don't find out, but you know that there's something there. Because Anna talks about them confessing something about their dads when they shared a night of passion that turned her into the subject of gossip at school.
Yeah, I would have liked to have had a few more moments or bits of dialogue which could have instilled a bit more sympathy towards Nick. It's just because it's like in general I find arrogance to be a really irritating character trait, like in fiction and in real life.
Yeah.
And when I encounter people who display that as a dominant personality trait, I just have a tendency to completely disregard and ignore them because I just find them too obnoxious to pay attention to.
That's fair.
And I feel that if Nick were somebody who we were supposed to ultimately sympathise with, then I think it wouldn't have hurt to have been given a couple more reasons to actually do so.
Yeah, he is a dick throughout most of the film, whether it be to Anna or to anyone else. And then you sort of get that sense of redemption towards the end, and or not redemption, but that kind of sense of some kind of depth to him that he keeps hidden. And he is the typical, I guess he bullies others because he's so emotionally damaged himself. That's what they're getting at there, more or less.
Yeah, it's sort of he's being pushed and pulled in other directions and is kind of acting as he thinks people expect him to act.
Yeah.
And then playing to character after that. But yeah, it's that arrogance kind of thing. You go, oh, not really. It's that bit, but you do get a little bit of an insight into the character. But I kind of agree with you, Andrew. There could have been a bit more there. Yeah,
although Ben Wiggins is really charismatic.
Yeah, definitely.
He is fun to watch, for sure. So that's our main cast. We have the villain, Arthur Savage.
Appropriately named.
I know. Yeah. And when I
do like the appropriate naming in this film, actually.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. At least with him. I mean, no one else is really appropriately named. So.
The town is called Little Haven as well, which is...
Yeah, so when I first saw the film, I felt like he was kind of at odds with the overall tone. And I'll stand by that because I wrote it at the time and I meant it at the time. But watching it again, he actually blended in well for me because something about it didn't occur to me at the first point I watched it that occurred to me recently was the idea that he's always been like that. He's like, he's a savage being forced to act civilized by a society that has these rules. So once that all breaks down, he gets to become who he really is. which is just a murdering, gleeful scumbag.
He was quite a lot of fun to watch. Just because he's just so completely unapologetic in his behaviour and how he acts towards everyone else.
Yeah.
It's made fairly clear early on that he's somebody who has a certain degree of thwarted ambition in his life, and feels that he should have more authority over people. He utterly revels in the apocalypse happening, because it then allows him to live out this fantasy of control that he's always had.
Yeah. And you get that in a lot of post-apocalyptic films where people just, well, I don't have to live by society's rules anymore, so I just get to do whatever I want. And he's one of those people. You can sort of understand why he would feel like that. I mean, when everything's falling apart, might as well, at least to some degree. Whereas other people try to retain their humanity, care about other people. He doesn't. He doesn't even care about himself, really. You know, he stays in a town full of zombies, so he can't care that much about himself.
Yeah, it's like he's got the limited control within the school, hasn't he? And then it just his power hungriness just goes nuts from there.
Yeah, that control which he loses as soon as he lets the zombies chow down on the people. So, but he wants to keep Anna's father prisoner because the film needs him to, I suppose.
And also because Anna's dad was the only one who really stood up to him. And yes, I was actually directly telling him is like no, like what you're doing is a really bad idea. Like, we need to do this instead. Yeah. And the thing is, and in his tiny petty little mind, and he decided that was a transgression that needed to be punished.
Yep, completely agree there. So that's Arthur, scumbag, kind of lovable scumbag, I suppose. But yeah, that's a kind of interestingly during the 100th podcast we talked about has your opinion of a film changed since you reviewed it, and that's one, I guess. I mean, that's an opinion of a part of the film. It's changed in the time since I've seen it. So but what I wrote first time is perfectly valid because it is my reaction first time. So yeah, he was entertaining. I think what I found standoffish was how much he hams it up compared to the rest of the cast. Everyone else plays it kind of straight, but he is just a lunatic.
He just goes for full on villainy, doesn't he? Yeah. Once he gets there, so it does seem different, especially when you're going sort of between a song. A big cheery song, and then as soon as he walks in, it sort of drops a little bit.
Yeah. So what about some of the deaths? So several of the characters die. The first major death is John, which is, I don't know, about halfway through the film, something like that. He's the first major character to die, and then you get Chris and Lisa later on. Think they're effective? Do you think they feel earned? Do you think they feel shocking?
I was certainly quite surprised by how early John was killed. Just because with being Anna's best friend, then he's someone there to provide like emotional support to her. Given the prominence of him in the early part of the film, then you certainly would have thought that he would have been around for a lot longer.
Which makes it more shocking, I suppose. Doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and also the flip side of that is that if somebody who you had assumed would survive for quite some time is killed off so quickly, then there certainly isn't any reason why any other character who you think is going to survive isn't going to.
Yeah.
And so that provides like a degree of uncertainty in the character's fates, which I for one actually found quite welcome, because so often in films like these, after like about 15 or 20 minutes, then you can actually list the order that the characters are going to die in, with almost practically 100% accuracy every single time.
Yeah. Although the interesting thing about John is he could be seen as one of the things that's holding Anna back, because it's established early on he doesn't have that much ambition. You know, he's happy to just kind of languish in this small town, and he acknowledges that she's going to bugger off and have a really successful life, presumably, but he doesn't really exhibit any of those desires himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the two influences in Anna's life that are potentially holding her back are John and her father, so they both die. So she has nothing tethering her to that town anymore, so she leaves. I mean, she leaves because it's like crawling with zombies, but you know, on that underneath the surface level, you've got these two people that are keeping her there, I suppose. So his death kind of puts her further towards her path of getting out of there. And the fact is, he takes a bite where she could have easily taken a bite, so it's kind of he's pushing her away as well. You know, kind of helping her leave. Oh, maybe I'm reading too much into it.
All this, and it's actually an interesting perspective. It isn't one that I made myself, and yeah, and I certainly I don't think I'd have I would have read that much into it. It's certainly something to think about, though. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Plus, he completes his arc. He learns the names of all the reindeer. So after that, what more has he got to give?
I would have said the stereotype would have been that he would have went out in the end to save the hero. You know, sort of getting off in a shopping centre just doesn't do it. You know. Yeah.
And then Chris and Lisa, I suppose they die together, which is nice for them. Maybe. One doesn't get to live without the other. So, you know, that's something, I suppose. I certainly took that as being completely deliberate. Yeah. Things like and even as zombies, like they're kind of like they're left like with each other. Yeah. Sometimes like being together in death. Yeah, holding hands almost. I mean, I'm pretty sure they accidentally brushed against each other and it looks like they were holding hands. But you know, there was that was clearly the thing they were going for. But could you imagine if one of them had survived? You'd just have to listen to the other one complain the whole time. It's like,
I think if one of them had died and one of them hadn't, they would have kept the other on a leash.
Yeah, just like sedate them in the back of the car or something. Shut up. Yeah, we all lost people. Who cares? And I know you left your phone behind. Who cares? That's just cruel. Those people died. But, you know, they're not real. They're actors. I can confirm after having met them that they did indeed survive the making of this film.
Yeah, as well. It's good to be reassured of these things.
It really is. I like to remember that fiction is fiction sometimes. It's easy to forget. Otherwise I might start thinking I've got superpowers or something. Which I don't. At least for now. The most moving death was... no, you do see him die. Her dad. Once she saves him, turns out he's been bitten, which kind of renders the whole thing a waste of time. But they do get to say goodbye, and he gives her his blessing to go off into the world and make her own mark on it, now that it's overrun the zombies and there are no other opportunities.
Yeah, now that air travel's pretty much out of the question, you can go as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, you can go as far as that tank of gas in the car will take you. Because all the other petrol stations that have been readied are blown up. So that's something to think about. But no, I like their sort of final scene together. It's hilarious when he said, "I'm not crazy about your boyfriend." And it's like, he's not my boyfriend. And somehow Nick survives, despite the fact that you think he's going to die.
Yeah. Well, the way that scene was done, I was pretty certain he was going to crop up again later. Yeah. Because it is like a general rule in films like this is that if you don't actually see somebody die, then they're going to reappear later.
Yeah. In which he does, like 5 minutes later. So, any thoughts on, is it Tony, character's name is? His death.
Well, actually, nothing really much more than what you said about it. Like, like it is like a very sad and poignant moment. And also like a bit of an extension about what you were saying earlier about Anna needing to get away from him to live her own life. It's just like a very, very extreme interpretation of that.
Yeah. Now on to the fun part, the songs, and we're going to have a sing. No, we're not.
No,
This
we're
isn't
not.
the music line, so
We're definitely not.
we're not prepared. The songs. So, do they tie into the themes well? Is the first question that I had. I would say that they do. Every song sort of complements how the characters are feeling at that given moment. The first one, Breakaway, is about we're stuck, sick of this town, want out. Perfectly encapsulates that opening sequence of this place sucks. That's very much the thought on everyone's mind at that point.
I feel the same about that. As well as establishing the tone and the character's feelings. I also just thought it was just in and of itself. It's actually a really, really good song.
It's a nice little pop song.
Because as I remember, like when I was writing my review of the film in June after seeing the festival, like the only reference I made to it was establishing the character's frustrations, like with living in a small town. Yeah, because that was just like pretty much what I took from it, and all I could recall from it at the moment. But then when actually listening to it again, I actually thought, this is really, really good. I really like this.
Yeah, and all the songs sound like they belong to the film, which sounds stupid, but everyone gushes about Frozen, right? And I feel like Frozen is a collection of songs that Disney just had lying around. They decided to put in a film. Because I don't think any of them really sound like they bounce off any of the others. And I think a good musical, it has to have a kind of musical through line. I mean, look at one of my favourite musicals, the Buffy musical. All the songs sound like they belong. Moana, which is one of my favourite recent Disney films, all the songs sound like part of the same film. The Greatest Showman, which is another film that I really like, all the songs sound like they fit, etc.
As well as feeling like they fit, and that the songs of a good musical should also feel part of the story. And they should convey thoughts and feelings that aren't otherwise expressed.
What song does that better than the fish rap? Spelled W-R-A-P, because of course it is.
I had actually completely forgotten about that one until second time round.
When you get fish, of course, it is wrapped. So there you go. When you get fish and chips, there we go. That's exactly.
Chris understands the joke. Everyone.
I get the joke.
Yeah, I just thought, like, God, how could I have forgotten this? This is everything.
Mother flipper. Oh, God.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that that you can imagine the songwriters just absolutely like laughing to themselves hysterically while writing it.
And it's only a couple of lines. It's only like 39 seconds long.
I kind of wish that maybe there's a full version of lyrics out there somewhere. Surely they didn't only download that portion. Sorry, they didn't only write that portion.
It's only 39 seconds, so maybe that's all it is.
No, give me a full version. We demand a full version.
Yeah. But I think all the songs fit in, with the exception of one, which I'll explain shortly. The Hollywood ending one, which is, the one that a lyric video... Is it a lyric video?
It was, yes.
Yeah, appeared online before the film was released. And that's like... Well, one thing that it does is it establishes that this isn't really going to be like that kind of traditional Hollywood story, the relationships don't go that way, and I like how all the characters are kind of frustrated that they're not going to get like a happy ending in the way that has been teased in the films. John sings about how life is nae Disney, which is perfect, just absolutely perfect. These two words don't rhyme. Now they do.
I was going to mention that as one of my favourite lines.
So like we're Scottish. We can make this rhyme.
Yeah.
If it doesn't rhyme, we'll make sure it does. So brilliant. Well done, John. Well done, writer of song. Excellent work. But the imagery that surrounds that, the lyrics as well. So what you've got is as they're establishing it, you've got people wandering around looking miserable, and then you've got it's like a dinner lady looking at a teacher. That would be her Hollywood ending, I suppose. And then you've got it's like a guy looking at another guy as well. It's like really, it's these little background details of no one here is going to get what they want at all ever, and that's what the song's about, I suppose.
And it also has some of the most elaborate dance choreography seen throughout the film.
It does, yeah.
Which I absolutely loved. That was actually one of the things that I was talking to the director about. Was asking him like how complicated that all was to shoot. He mentioned that it actually pretty much went off without a hitch, but because all the props on the tables were incorporated into the routines of the background dancers. They were always like picking up and resetting things at each time. Yes, like so much so that that the members of the crew whose job it was to actually do that were standing around bored because they didn't have to do anything.
Getting paid to do nothing. Sounds good. It's a really well choreographed scene. It gives you a bit of insight into all the characters, what they're after at that point, or at least all the characters who are singing. John's pining after Anna. Anna's saying, "I'm not a traditional heroine, so don't expect me to be." the headmaster guy, he's there. I can't remember what his lines really are, but
Alan's still evil.
Yeah. Well, it's not really saying anything. Like it's more just singing like the repeated line of chorus. But he's just glaring at everyone evilly while doing it, just as if just thinking like, I hate you all.
Yeah. And then you have the Chris and Lisa portion here, the only people living that Hollywood romance out of all of them, really, or at least they think they are. So they have their little bragging rights in the middle of it, which is, again, kind of insufferable. But that's kind of the point, I suppose. It's like, look at us flaunting our love in front of all you losers.
Yeah, it's like we're so blissfully happy with each other. Everything will be incredible and amazing for us.
Yeah.
Be jealous.
No, I won't. Spoiler alert, you die. It's a shame. I'm sure they're lovely people. They're just insufferable. The actors are nice. I say having met them, of course. Yeah. I'm just going to keep saying that until people find me insufferable. Which should be any time in the last half hour or so.
Apparently this is the bragging rights episode.
Of course it is.
It's
about time.
Yeah, so you may as well go all the way.
Yep. So when I talked about one song that doesn't really fit, but I think that's intentional because it is a song that's meant to be sung. If that makes sense. You know, the Lisa's suggestive song. But you know, it doesn't really tell you what her mindset is. It doesn't tie into any of the major themes that are going on. It's just a song. It's in, you know, at a point in the film that she sings. But it's as part of a talent show, so I don't think it's supposed to be that kind of song. Whereas the other songs
I don't think it was intended. I mean, it was intended as like a silly performance thing, wasn't it? A bit like the fish wrap thing. It's not meant to be sort of integral to the plot at all. It's just a song that's being performed.
But it was hilarious.
Yes.
I love the guy in the audience who just, it suddenly dawns on him like, what's going on, and he's also confused. Because she is a teenager and he's presumably an adult, so it's a bit like, what am I feeling here?
Yeah, and also like, what can I get away with feeling?
Yeah, and then you've got the half-naked dancers. Where did you get them? So many questions, but it's funny. It's a funny number, and I don't know. It's about the only Christmas song in the film, other than the credits one. Other than stuff in the background or various tunes that sound vague.
Yeah, actually.
Other ones like Turning My Life Around, which you alluded to earlier, was about it's the Shaun of the Dead scene where she's singing about life ain't so bad, it's going to get better, which has some pretty bad dancing in it, which I kind of approve of. It's a good song. It does sound a little bit similar to Breakaway though at the start, a little bit, almost a little too similar.
I didn't get that actually.
No. Oh well, just me then. I've listened to the soundtrack a lot after spending money on it.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly worth money.
Yeah, it was it's good fun. I think the video or music video side of it is really funny because you've got as I said, the bad dancing, the chaos going on in the background, with the optimistic, sunny lyrics. What are your sort of favourite songs out of them, or least favourites, I suppose? That's the big question.
Favourites, because it is just so sugary musical nonsense, is Hollywood Ending, I think. Also for that, Isn't Disneyland. I've got to throw that one in. Least favourite song, I'm saying it's difficult to pick a least favourite. I'm going to go for Soldier at War. As my least favourite. I've not like you. I've not managed to see the film a couple of times. I've only seen the film once.
That's the one that was released as a music video.
Oh, was it? Ah, right. Okay. But yeah, that's the one I'm going to go for.
I would say it has to grow on you, that song, actually. I like it now, but I can't remember loving it at the time. I like Hollywood Ending as well. I think that's my favourite. I also like Human Voice, because I think that comes at a point in the film where it represents so much for the characters, and you know, they have no way of contacting their loved ones, and they just want to hear a human voice. That's what the song's about. But it also has this kind of commentary on how obsessed they are with technology and being connected to everybody, and you know, social media and all that stuff. So it's, you know, it's got a bit of that in there, but ultimately it's we're so detached. Let me make sure my family are safe and things like that. I think it's quite a meaningful song, you know, a sort of middle of the film ballad type. My least favourite song is the villain song, mostly because Paul Kaye's voice is quite grating when he's singing. Andrew, what about you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I actually really liked "Breakaway" as a song. Just because I think that lyrically it's very well constructed, and yeah, and the performances of it are sung very powerfully, which really shows the intensity of what they're feeling. Yeah, and another one I quite like was the one at the climax, give them a show, which is one that Anna sings, like as she's slaughtering like an army of zombies to make her way to her dad, which because I just thought that was absolutely brilliant, brilliant scene in the film, and that certainly brings back memories of it.
Yeah, zombie slaughtering is choreography.
Yeah.
Cool song.
And that's my least favorite one. I really wasn't taken with Soldier at War either. It's just because as an extension of like my dislike of Nick's arrogance. Yeah, and it's basically all about, I'm amazing, I'm the greatest hard man, I'm going to save you all, you should all follow me, like bow down mortals kind of thing. Yeah, it just annoyed me.
Lyrics are cool though. And I like the choreography of it, like, you know, being carried over trolleys and stuff like that. Plus the bit leading up to it where they're trying to like hide under a ball pit. One of the stupidest survival ideas ever.
Which I think Steph actually explicitly states.
I think I've seen worse than The Walking Dead, so I think they're doing fine.
Well, have you seen worse than an old lady zombie pissing on Steph's head? Maybe not.
Good point, well made.
It's plastic. It's warm plastic. So funny. Yeah, Soldier at War grew on me after a while. I do really like it though. I think, yeah, I like the lyrics. I think it's well sung. I do think it grows on you. I think it lifts out of the soundtrack in some ways, as it's a very different sort of song. I guess it is more military based. You know, it's more militant and more action driven, which the other songs aren't necessarily. Just a thought on that one. And then you've got like the What a Time to Be Alive credit stuff, which is cool. And a Christmas one. Christmas Means Nothing Without You, which appears at the end of the film. the animated end credits. That's fun. Cementing it as a Christmas film. And this is essentially our backup Christmas podcast. So we should probably mention that earlier.
Or maybe it's our real Christmas podcast.
If we don't manage to have a real Christmas podcast, this is the real Christmas podcast. Who knows, there could be a zombie apocalypse and then we don't get to record our real Christmas podcast.
And wouldn't that be the greatest tragedy?
It would. It'd be horrible. It would be the end of civilization as we know it. Which is a line from Jingle All the Way. Another Christmas film that I like. If you want to hear that podcast, then it just was, the only thing better than watching Jingle All the Way is hearing two people talking about Jingle All the Way. So on that note, anything else to say on the songs before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything I want to say about them.
Cool. Anything else to say in general about the film, about Christmas, about Christmas?
Nope. Really just reiterating the fact that the film is a whole hell of a lot of fun, and everybody should seek it out as and when they can.
Yeah, it's going to adorn my Christmas viewing tradition, if I can get hold of it within the next year, which I presume there'll be some form of release.
No, definitely. I think this is one of these films that word of mouth will do it big favours, because I've not met anyone that's seen it that's absolutely hated against it. The reviews that I've seen are pretty positive of it. So it's a word of mouth thing. If you get the chance, go and see it, tell your friends about it, you'll love it.
Indeed. I agree. And anything to say about Christmas? Because, we have to connect it somehow.
I've heard that this year it's taking place on the 25th of December.
No way.
Way.
Andrew, any Christmas message for the listeners?
Just that everyone should enjoy themselves, eat and drink far too much, and just generally have a good time.
Agreed.
Everyone eat, drink, and be merry.
Eat, drink, and be merry. Yeah, I love this film. One thing I wanted to talk about, never found an organic place to put it, but I'm going to put it in anyway. You've got the Schrodinger's Christmas star, which is a great little thing. It almost knocks someone off the stage earlier in the film, and it's used to knock Savage off the stage at the end of the film. So it's like they set it up early on, waiting for the star to drop towards the end. It's one of those things you sort of forget about it, and then as soon as it happens, you're like, oh yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, actually, I did forget about that.
Schrodinger's Christmas star. They established that this thing can fall down, so therefore it does have to fall down at some point before the end of the film. And I think we've just got the subtitle for our podcast.
Schrodinger's Christmas star.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's it. Love this film. Definitely see it if you can. Hopefully it will get a DVD release or a Blu-ray release within the next year, so that it can be taken home and enjoyed and loved, and adorn everyone's Christmas playlist. It'll sit up there with Die Hard, Home Alone, Jingle All the Way, Muppets Christmas Carol, and all the other ones that I watch at this time of year. It's not a huge list, I don't have that much time, but this is going on it. So there we go. And to all our listeners, I'd love to wish you a very Merry Christmas, and I hope that there'll be another podcast where we get to say it again. But if not, have a great time.
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas.
So that was our discussion on Anna and the Apocalypse. Once again, on behalf of all of us here at Kneel Before Blog and Kneel Before Pod, I'd like to wish you all a very happy Christmas and all the best into the new year. If you like what you heard, then please give us the gift of hitting that subscribe button. iTunes users can leave us a present in the form of a star rating and comment if you can find it in your heart to do so. If you want to discuss this or anything else, then hit us up on Facebook or Twitter under Kneel Before Blog, or leave a comment on kneelbeforeblog.co.uk. As always, we hope you'll join us on the next Kneel Before Pod.